to upset the car as you slow it down. There's also the bus stop chicane on the backstretch. Added in the 80s, this is a tricky piece of circuit that punishes a poor exit severely, with it leading back into the latter half of the oval. As you'd expect, the long periods on throttle mean that drafting tends to play a factor in the racing. It also means passing isn't usually too great of an issue if you have the pace to catch someone. The more difficult thing is managing to gap your opponent so that they don't ride in your slipstream once you get by. With half a century of endurance racing collected among these walls, it's not unfair to say that road racers have just as much claim to call Daytona home. Fans who come to watch certainly won't be disappointed by the high speeds and fantastic thrills it invariably provides each year.
Well, that's it in a nutshell here at the World Centre of Racing. And also, we have to say a big thank you to Dash Sim Sports' very own Jason, who has helped to organise the league and provide racing simulator building, installation and servicing for the Driving Club at Road Atlanta members. And joining me back in the booth once again, Michael Johnson, welcome back. Well, definitely the fact that Daytona International Speedway road course is very popular in the month of January here on iRacing. But what's the biggest challenges that our drivers are going to face tonight? It's an hour enduro, mandatory pit stop, rather than the double race format we had last week at VIR.
The biggest challenge, I think, is kind of similar to what we saw in the 24, the actual live race, which is the other drivers. That becomes the biggest thing because patience, and I think I talked about patience last race too. Patience is really key here. You cannot let yourself get frustrated, try to push too hard. This course really pays you back when you are calm and collected and very methodical about the way you drive through it. As soon as you start to get outside and get a little bit frazzled, you're going to put a wheel in the dirt, you're going to catch a curb a little bit too hard, you're going to catch a slowdown coming out of the what do we call it now, the Le Mans chicane, the bus stop as everyone knows it. Those kinds of places, that's going to be what really sets you apart. If you can keep your head, you will do well in this race. If you let other people get to you, that's really going to mess you up.
Yeah, and well, the person that's really been striding forward in this series so far here for the Driving Club of Road Atlanta has been the number 9 of Jamil Gummer, as we are into the final throes of the 15-minute qualifying session here at this 3.56 mile circuit, opened back in 1959. The current variation has been in use since 1985, and obviously with the cooperation between IMSA and the Automobile Club de l'Ouest. We have a bus stop at Le Mans, and now we have the Le Mans chicane here at Daytona. Jamil Gummer is very much on a clean sweep at the moment, has switched from the Acura NSX to the plucky 911 GT3. So we have 10 drivers out for qualifying, and at the moment Jamil Gummer here, Michael, is again just showing how crucially how good he really is. He's 7.5 tenths up the road in terms of qualifying pace here, ahead of the number 8 Porsche of David Madden. Seth Thomas in the 81, who we saw very much part and parcel of the ups and downs, let's say, at VIR last week in the 81 Mustang. And congratulations to the Ford Performance team for taking the GTD Pro win this past weekend at the Rolex 24. Porsche very much suited to this circuit here, isn't it?
Oh, indeed. The Porsche loves this circuit. There's something about having all the weight over those back wheels like that. Now, the mid-engine cars have a beautiful rotation to them, but when you're coming out of turn 6, or do we call it 7 here, coming out into the oval, and you've got the weight over those tires, they go nowhere. They just grip and launch you down. So the same thing happens coming out of 6, coming out of the bus stop, the Le Mans chicane. You just get so much grip coming out of there, and it's just an acceleration machine. So the Porsche, for me, is kind of the car of choice when I'm racing here in the sim. And yeah, honestly, in real life, it's not that bad either.
Yeah, exactly. Michael will be bringing a lot of his real-world experience, not just as a driver, but also as a driver coach to this broadcast, which is wonderful to have that insight. Jamil Gummer, the number 9 car, looks to be trying to improve on this time. So David Madden in second. Seth Thomas covers the top 3 by 1.15 seconds. Alan Carter in the number 1 Acura rounds out the top 4 with the number 100 Ferrari of Daniel Vincent rounding out P5, 1.6 seconds apart. We ride on board with Alan Carter, who now flings the car into the left-hand kink, where you basically full throttle here at T4 into the Western Horseshoe here at T5. And then effectively, yeah, I think it is more, I would class it more as turn 6, even though it's a double left-hander here, Michael. But you've got to really put the anchors on, straighten up the car, then rotate it. And we have seen it before on multiple, even the iRacing Daytona 24 Hours a couple of weeks back. There were drivers that were really getting it crossed up, getting on the throttle a bit too early, a bit too eager, and it spools up the rear tyres and spins them around. And potentially, if you're a bit too heavy into that corner in terms of overspeed, you can end up into the high side of the wall.
Indeed. And I think what a lot of people miss about that particular corner is it is crowned, it is crested, it's higher in the middle than it is on the sides. It's just like your regular street where it allows for the water to go sheeting off on either side. So when you come into that corner, unless you want to be water and pushed out to the offside of the track, you really need to try to stay middle there. Now there is a technique to getting out to the outside and rotating the car, letting that off camber rotate it. But honestly, what you really want to do is stay on that middle and get the power down quickly.
So David Madden in the number 8 Porsche, second in qualifying at the moment with 1:50 still to go. He's just done a personal best in Sector 3, which was 7/100ths off of Jamil Gummer. That's a personal best for the number 8. He's also a lot quicker through sector number 4. He's actually bettered Jamil Gummer's last sector, which was a low 27.8. It was a 27.73 in sector 4 as David Madden makes his way towards the tri-oval now, crosses the stripe, and on that particular occasion improves his lap time, stays second at the moment. Adam Faust in the Rexy car, the number 5. Wonderful livery that never gets old on that Porsche. We see that many a time at not just the Rolex 24, but also other endurance races, including the ADAC 24 Hours of the Nürburgring Nordschleife. Here's Cameron Campbell in the number 12 Porsche, and he is keeping it very, very close to the outside wall on the backstretch heading into the Le Mans chicane. Cameron's still, that's definitely not exactly what he wants on that front, so that just goes to show how hard you are pushing in qualifying. And in the bus stop or the Le Mans chicane, very much the case that you can find out, as Cameron just did, that's exactly what can happen. So Adam Faust makes his way out of turn 6 for what will be his last opportunity to try and improve. Currently running P6 at the moment, 5.5 tenths of a second off of the 100 Ferrari 296 GT3 of Daniel Vincent. Jason Owens has pitted and will start from 7th. Flip is Philip Crane, before I forget. But let's have a look at the race format for tonight for round number 3 out of 6 for the Driving Club of Road Atlanta iRacing Winter Series. So it's round 3 of 6. It's the second of 3 one-hour enduros. Every driver has to do a mandatory fuel stop, open setups, and a drive-through at 25x incident points. So the World Centre of Speed is ready. We here at GSRC are ready. We hope all of you that are watching at the moment do so as well. Let's take you through the starting grid, which will be under rolling start conditions. Jamil Gummer takes another pole position this series, and we'll have David Madden making it an all Porsche front row lockout. Then it's Mustang versus NSX on row number 2 with Seth Thomas and Alan Carter rounding out positions 3 and 4. Daniel Vincent and Adam Faust make it Ferrari versus Porsche on row 3. Jason Owens and Todd Westfelling, Acura versus Porsche. Then we've got Philip Crane and Cameron Campbell, Ferrari versus Porsche again. Field a little bit further adrift than I think some of them would have liked here, Michael. But the start is also just as crucial as how you strategize for this 1-hour enduro here at the World Centre of Racing.
Yeah, quite an interesting race we're going to have here. There is a bit of a gap here. We're looking at about 4 seconds, which is a lot. However, that comes down sometimes to people just having trouble qualifying. Some people get nervous qualifying. Me, I'm never a good qualifier. I have only a few pole positions in my life. So I'm not surprised to see some people slower. Watch for their pace to come up, though, in the race. I think race pace comes to people a little easier sometimes. So I would watch for what's going to happen to some of those back markers in the race and see if they're able to improve their speed a bit.
Well, drama for Todd Westphaling due to start on the outside of row number 4. He is going to start from pit road. Did not make the start, but the Porsche pace car leading our all-Weissach front row with the might of America, the pony car, the Mustang, with the wonderful Coors livery, represented by the number 81 of Seth Thomas. He's got Alan Carter alongside on row 2 as they come out of the Le Mans chicane and through the penultimate corner before heading into the tri-oval. And once the pace car is in the pit lane, we will be then given the signal to go green here at the world centre of speed. The Daytona International Speedway road course, 3.56 miles, 5.729 kilometres, 12 turns, bankings as high as 31 degrees through the ovals. The tri-oval, 18 degrees, the back straightaway a mere 2 degrees, and it's flatter than the Netherlands in the infield. Pace car in the pit lane. Let's see if Madden can get alongside Gummer going into turn number 1. And Gummer's already punched the throttle down hard. We are now green and underway for the 3rd round out of 6 for the iRacing Winter Series. The Driving Club of Road Atlanta, and Jamil Gummer already pulling a 4/10 advantage, 3 wide into T1, and that was Carter to the outside, Thomas to the inside, and Madden still holds on to 2nd position. But great bravado from the drivers in the Mustang and the NSX.
Yeah, Jamil Gummer out there trying to open up this gap just a little bit, doing a nice job. That's a difficult place right at the start of the race, but look at how this gap is opening up. He's got about a second out front on board here with the Acura, trying to catch up to this pony car. Look at that power out of the corner. Oh my, that's going to be an interesting thing to watch once they get up to turn 6 here, hopefully with less contact next time. And we've got a spinner.
Jamil Gummer, the race leader, has binned it through the Western Horseshoe. Not what you wanted by the number 9 from Georgia. We've seen it before. Don't forget, race 2 at VIR came from way back where and still took the double victory in Virginia. But it means that David Madden in the number 8 Porsche leads by 1.2 seconds. Seth Thomas in the Mustang in the number 81 rounds out P2. And in the 3rd spot, Alan Carter in the number 1 Honda NSX being closed in on by Daniel Vincent in the number 100 Ferrari 296 GT3. They hurtle their way through into the Le Mans chicane. Oh, ran a little bit deep there, did Daniel Vincent. Lost a bit of time to Alan Carter, but he's going to get the slipstream here. Expect speeds in excess of 175 plus miles an hour here on this banking, and especially if you can get the slipstream, if you're within about 0.3 of a second, that slipstream here, Michael, is very, very powerful.
Indeed it is. This is one of the big things about Daytona, is getting close enough to catch the slipstream as you come out of the corner, but not be affected too much by it as you're going into the corner. You still want to have a little bit of air on your wing because you've got next to none. I mean, really, everyone trims their car out to pretty much a flat wing if they can get it. If they could make these things take off, I think they might, as long as they had jet power. But look at this once again. This is Alan Carter closing up quickly onto that pony car. He thinks he can get a piece of that Mustang there. Seth Thomas, though, making a very nice defensive line. Look how close he gets up in there in the 2nd horseshoe. Power coming out, though. That American Iron just says, nope, I'm going to open this up just a bit.
Yes, indeed it does. I think, yeah, if these cars were wanting to fly, then I think we'd probably have Miami Air Traffic Control saying, well, you need to sprout wings and a couple of afterburners on the back of that GT3 car. So, well, I thought it was 60 minutes. It's showing as 67 minutes to go, so a 70-minute race. Adam Faust in the number 5 Porsche looks to have become a early casualty. Todd Westphaling was stuck in pit road, having not made the grid. was in the pits for 1 minute 55. So here is the replay. Now this is going to be Cameron Campbell, and this is out of turn 4. And he wasn't the only one. It was, that was why Adam Faust, they both lost it through the kink.
That was a little follow the leader going on there, it looked like. Maybe some target fixation. I've called things target fixation before, and the driver said, nope, I just lost it the exact same way he did. I was not fixated on him at all. But, oh, look at this. Alan Carter trying to get close. Now, I wonder if he's going to play a little easy with this because he knows he can get around him, but doesn't want to give him that favor of the draft, so he's going to save it for later and just let him drag him along through this race.
But also that's going to help with regards to Alan Carter's fuel strategy here, Michael, mainly because of the fact that he's going to be saving fuel. He's not going to be able, when they're going down the, let's say the banking through out of T7 into the backstretch through T8. The opportunity here for Alan is to also maybe not put it down to 100% full throttle, but maybe 85-90%, so that Acura will be helping its fuel conservation. It might be 0.1 or 0.2 of a litre through each sector, but that can also make all the difference over the course of a 70-minute enduro with a mandatory pit stop, as Jamil Gummer fires it up the inside of Philip through at T6 to now retake that 6th position. So Philip Crane has not only been passed, but he's been left behind like a bad habit.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy how quick Jamil Gummer is able to get through there. And right now he's closing this up again. He is really moving with that car. I'm thinking it's going to be a little replay of what we saw at VIR, especially with the amount of time we have left here. We're only about 8 minutes into this or so. Oh, Jamil Gummer having trouble again. Is he going to be able to get back on track and keep position? Does he have a slowdown at all? I don't see one.
Well, that is a bit of a drama there for Jamil Gummer. It's not going to be an easy one over the enduro distance that we have here. And that means he ends up behind Daniel Vincent, who has had a drama. Alan Carter now down in 6th. So the number 1 Acura, who was battling away with Seth Thomas, who has just got past apparently Todd Westfelling in the number 2 car, who's now up to P3. So a lot of dramas have hit many of the drivers, and I think Daniel Vincent got a bit stale. He got a tag from Jamil Gummer, and I bet you he's hard in the barriers now. I bet you he's hard in the barriers.
Not quite. Oh, I think he's going to make it around just barely. He was able to get that car turned around right before, but he's going to have a major slowdown because that horseshoe, he just completely cut. I mean, he didn't cut it. He was kinetically motivated into cutting it, we'll say.
Kinetically forced to the outside is probably a good factor on that one. I mean, the thing is that these GT3 cars, I said in the intro, folks, that we were going to have some fender-to-fender, wheel-to-wheel battling, and here's the replay with Daniel Vincent. That's the tag from Jamil Gummer from behind going into T2, and he's just literally straight-lined it. And that is going to be slowdown penalty. Well, Daniel Vincent, no surprise, has ended up into pit road. So he's decided to see if there was any damage from the tag from Gummer, who's just fired it up the inside of Carter through into the Le Mans chicane at turns 9 and 10, and now is going after Philip Crane in the number 3 Ferrari up ahead. So close pack racing, but when you've got a driver as competent as Jamil Gummer, who's made a few mistakes, let's not forget, Crane keeps out of the way, and Gummer makes it 3 wide coming out of the final corner heading into the tri-oval. That is incredibly brave. Gummer keeps it pinned to the low side of the circuit, and more to the point, Jason Owens might try and get the jump on Carter into turns 1 and 2. Carter goes a little bit wide, keeps it round the outside and still holds on to the position, but he's got to be very careful. Oh, he bumps onto the sausage curb coming out of T2, puts the car Knight Rider style, schemo through turn 2, and he managed to make it all fall down back onto terra firma and keep a hold of that Ferrari. That was a good save.
Indeed it was. It's challenging to save the car when it has so little wing and you've got a track this cool. This is pretty dark conditions that we're getting. And notice every car here has their lights on, so that lets you know a couple of things are happening. We've got probably a little bit of dew settling on the track. I am pretty sure iRacing does that. And then there's just the slipperiness and the cold air, so you got a little more power, but you have no wing. You really have to trim these cars to nothing, and it makes it hard to control sometimes when it gets into these tricky conditions.
Well, highest velocity or top speed so far, no surprise here, Michael, is the Mustang of Seth Thomas, which has just recorded 179.18 miles an hour. So the actually aspirated 5.4 litre V8 engine is doing exactly what he needs to do. And at the moment, well, Seth Thomas is running about a second on aggregate on his previous lap, despite having the top speed advantage. The Porsche is very, very capable. You said about the fact that with the rear engine being over the rear axle, Jason Owens at 171 miles an hour going into what looks to be the tri-oval. Jamil Gummer, new fastest lap, and he's put in a 1:44.845, and you can see the telemetry of the speed that Jason Owens is doing. 60 miles an hour coming out of turns 1 and 2. He's still trying to get wheel to wheel with Philip Crane in the number 3 Ferrari. This is a great battle here for P5 as they light up the brake discs on the front of the cars heading into the Rodriguez International Horseshoe at T3. And this is what I love about simulated racing, where you see the unburnt fuel getting pushed out of the back of the car with a few flames to boot. A bit like the MP412C used to be renowned for that when it was first on the iRacing server.
Yeah, hot dog cooker is what some people called it. Just stick your hot dogs back there and cook them on the flames. But here we go. Jamil is looking like he's not taking those mistakes early too lightly. He took a little patience coming into that corner, coming up behind this other Porsche. He is currently at P4 coming past Westphaling, and it looks like he may be able to get this pass done before we get to it's gonna be tight. Yeah, looks like he's gonna be able to get around coming into the brake zone of the Le Mans chicane.
And managed to do that at 170 miles an hour in 6th gear with 4 on the floor and the foot to the floor as well. Now he goes through in towards the tri-oval banking, 18 degrees as opposed to what we see in the main oval turns at 31 degrees. Then on to the main part of this fantastic 3.56 mile circuit, and he keeps it low, but then he's going to let the car drift out towards the wall heading into T1. He's about half a door's width going into that first corner. Another new fastest lap by the number 9, and he's closing that gap. The gap between him and Seth Thomas in the Mustang is now at 5.6 seconds. And more to the point here, Michael, he took 1.3 out of Seth Thomas in terms of the differential between P2 and P3. We've got just 54 minutes plus change still to go here at this halfway point of the Driving Club at Road Atlanta iRacing Winter Series. And it's great that they've mixed it up between a sprint format and an enduro format, so the drivers get the opportunity to have some proper wheel time. And that's where Daytona really comes into its own as an enduro circuit every single year, not just out on the real life racetrack, but also when we see it all the way through the month of January, because everyone wants to do it. We've got a GSRC replay. Cameron Campbell in the number 12. Is it going to be turn 4 again? Oh, and he goes off the circuit, this time to the right. And he was very, very lucky, was Cameron, on that one. He held on the brakes, and that was definitely Code Brown written all over that one.
Indeed it was, but we are back here with Jamil Gummer going once again through the Le Mans chicane. Really nice, clean, easy path through there. Jamil Gummer really taking his time, making sure he's putting down proper laps, but I believe his last lap was his fastest at a 1:44.785. Let's see what he's going to do on this one, though. He looks like he may be up. This could be an even faster lap this time around as he hits it, and looks like a 1:44.870. So very close, very, very close. Good run down into turn 1 here. Just a quick note for folks, when you are driving this track and you find yourself coming down into turn 1, the real marker you're looking for, there are a bunch of long dashed lines there, like you would see on a road, but they're much longer. That last one is how you really start to gauge where your timing point is. You really want to take note of how fast you're coming up on that last dash, and either at it, just before it, or just after it. That's really what you're looking for to get the best lap time out of here and to get the most effective attack into that turn one left-hander.
So the race continues on as we have yet to see. I mean, the other question I need to ask, Michael, is obviously with a 70-minute endurance race round here at Daytona Road Course, if you've got a full tank of gas in the car, when would you say is probably the optimum for drivers to decide to pull into pit road and just get the car serviced and get it back out there?
I would say if you're looking at a 70-minute race, you've got a full tank, figure out when you've got a thimble full left, and that's when you come in. I think most of these cars should run 55 to 60 minutes, so everybody's going to have to come in. Even with a full tank of fuel, they're going to have to come in. So I would say since they are forced a lower fuel, which I can't remember what the percentage is, but anyway, so they have less fuel for this race. They're absolutely going to have to pit on this.
So probably maybe at the halfway point when we hit around 35 minutes, maybe, depending on how conservative they've been on the fuel consumption per lap. And obviously, we don't know. Oh my goodness me! Jason Owens goes in with a full head of speed to try and keep out of harm's way with Adam Faust in the number 5 car, who is putting a lap down, and Owens decides he's going to fire it up the inside, late on the brakes, through he goes at the Rodriguez International Horseshoe. Because at the moment, well, Jason Owens is closing in on Philip Crane, who in front has got Todd Westfelling. So the battle becomes a 3-car race and 3 different manufacturers, Porsche versus Ferrari versus Acura. And now into turn 5 at the Western Horseshoe. You can just see the number 3 car of Philip Crane just behind. Might have a slight high ping, might Philip at the moment. Daniel Vincent has effectively retired from the race, but Philip Crane dives up the inside of Todd Westfelling through at turn number 6, and Westfelling goes high. Oh, he glances the wall with the right rear, but still keeps a hold of it. And that sometimes, with the amount of, depending on how your force feedback is set through your direct drive on your car, means you will feel every slight impact on the steering wheel. And again, Westfelling getting very, very close to the wall. As now Owens dives up the inside. Westfelling has gone off track, and he's got a slowdown penalty as a result, which means that Adam Faust has just got round the outside of him and unlapped himself, so to speak, in terms of the number 2. And Philip Crane holds on to, well, it's nip and tuck between the two, so we're seeing either Philip Crane or Jason Owens holding on to 4th place, but Owens dives to the inside. This is going to be very, very close indeed. It's going to be going through the tri-oval. Owens gets through in the Acura on the Ferrari and now makes his way up to P4, having started 7th.
Flip on his 28.8 dial-up modem here. That's really frustrating for the car behind. And I think that might have been part of the problem for Westfelling, is when he was coming up to the Le Mans chicane, he really could not see the corner and focus on the corner because the car in front of him kept flashing in and out and in and out. It was there, it wasn't there, as we're seeing here. That is very difficult for a driver to ignore and just watch your real spots, because especially when that car disappears and then suddenly reappears with brakes on where you didn't expect, that can really throw you off. Because if you have a different brake zone, if you're a little bit deeper, a little bit earlier, or hey, I'm following a car, so I need to brake about 10 meters earlier or so, that can really mess you up when you're trying to come into those situations. And I think that may be really what caused Westfelling's issue back there coming into the Le Mans chicane.
Well, looking at the track and air temperature updates for you folks, 22.07 degrees track, 22.78 degrees Celsius, air for 22.07, track 22.78. And also one of the other things that we'll see over the course of the next 52 and a bit minutes here, Michael, is obviously degradation of tyres over the course of the race distance. And if they decide to put on a new set of boots in pit road, well, that's cold tyres, cold brakes. The circuit will be very much like an ice rink as sunset is fast falling in here at Daytona.
Indeed, it is. The interesting thing with these cars, not all the cars in the iRacing service have this, but these cars are able to fuel and do tires at the same time. With the amount of fuel they're putting in, they should be able to put on 4 brand new tires. If they want to do that, that's a different story. Sometimes you just want to stick on the tires that you're on. And it looks like we have someone in the pits. That's going to be Wes Felling, who is coming down for our first pit stop.
Okay, so Todd Westfelling in the number 2 car, pitting at the 18.5-minute mark with 51:30 still to go on the timer. So, yeah, it's more to the case that, well, there he is. Car's on the air jacks at the moment, so car is being serviced as we speak. So Alan Carter was in pit road for 22 seconds. Todd Westfelling, 24.2 on his marks down pit road, and of course with the speed limit they'll be hitting the pit lane speed limiter, so anyone coming through into T1 and turn 2 is going to be very, very crucial. But in the meantime, well, Jamil Gummer, we said, was on a bit of a tear here, Michael. He's got that gap down from what was 4+ seconds to a shade over 1.2. Seth Thomas's last lap, 1:45.931. Gummer 1:44.801. Madden now hits pit road from the race lead, which means, well, Gummer's got an opportunity here. Thomas has pitted, so Gummer goes on and now inherits the race lead with just over 50 minutes to go, coming up to the 20-minute marker completed here at round 3 at Daytona. So Jamil Gummer making up for lost time.
Yeah, Gummer coming around here through turn 2 up into the horseshoe. This is a difficult spot once this light starts to really dip. The look of the corner, you would swear you just switched to a different track. There is a point when that sun is going down and when it's coming back up, interestingly, where it feels absolutely different. You have no idea where you are all of a sudden. So you come into that corner, onto that horseshoe, and you're like, where am I? So anyway, looks like David Madden coming back out of the pits now, looking to hopefully recover his lead. But that's going to be a tough call. Jamil Gummer is really putting down some burners here. Last lap at a 1:45.1, best lap of a 44.7. And Madden, his best lap is a 1:45 flat. So a little over 0.2 of a second difference between those two. I don't know if he's going to be able to hold on to that. I don't know if he's been consistent enough on these laps to be able to hold on to that lead and to be able to hold that high pace as we watch Gummer once again going through that chicane. Beautifully timed. He's just got it down. He knows exactly where he wants to place the car. Beautifully timed through that chicane. And that, my friends, is where he's making up his most time.
Yeah, smooth and steady always works well here at Daytona. And Jamil Gummer, hardly any steering inputs. One thing he won't want to do is overdrive the car. But Jamil Gummer now pits here on lap 12 with 48 minutes and 40 to go, which means David Madden will retake the lead. Like to have a look on an onboard for not just David Madden, but also Seth Thomas on how their driving styles will differ from Jamil Gummer. And that's the wonderful thing that we can do here on iRacing, is that we can give you a real view from inside the cockpit. And
driver's eye view.
Yeah, POV, so to speak. But it's more the case of with Madden, you can see that he's now coming through the tri-oval. Minimal steering inputs there. I think the interesting thing would be to see the difference between David Madden and also Seth Thomas. So Seth Thomas, quickest pit stop of anybody in terms of being on his marks, being serviced, 16.32 seconds. You can just see David Madden just lining it up under braking, now rotating the car down to first gear, modulating that throttle, now going full throttle up to third, now hitting the rev limiter into fourth, and then just have a look as his steering input nice and smooth there through the kink, then hard on the brakes here from fifth gear, down to what will be second, now to first. Neatly hugs that apex very, very well indeed. Lets the car run out wide coming out of T5 at the Western Horseshoe. Now into turn 6 down from fourth gear into second. and will keep it in second. You don't want to do it first gear through turn 6, because that means your engine's going to basically want to spool those rear tyres up very, very quickly, and it also helps with regards to keeping traction on the rear axle. Very, very much required through T6. But again, David Madden just showing nice and calm steering inputs. Let's see if we can go on board with Seth Thomas, our sole Mustang entry in this third round of the series. He's currently running about 4.3 seconds behind Jamil Gummer as David Madden makes his way through. There is Seth Thomas making his way into the Le Mans chicane. You can see a little bit of slightly different suspension travel from the Mustang, still quite low to the ground. Obviously, the one of the wonderful things I love about the design of the Mustang, which people will now see on the very soon to be released Mustang GTD, which is effectively the GT3 for the road. The way that rear wing is slightly different to a lot of the GT3 cars that we have on the grid. It's very much in the arc of that it's bolted down onto the chassis. But it's a wonderful car, wonderful livery. So you're going to see a little bit more. You can see a little bit more frantic activity here into turns 1 and 2, and he's trying to correct the oversteer as well whilst he's putting down the power. So you can see the very big difference between a rear-wheel drive, rear-engine car, and he's just overcooked it into the Rodriguez horseshoe, and he's had to counter steer in order to correct it. So straight away there, Michael, you can see the difference of a front-engined rear-wheel drive car to a rear-wheel drive, rear-engine car. Very different characteristic in handling, but I'm sure that Seth Thomas enjoys the challenge of this vehicle.
It is indeed challenging, but notice how he has to turn that wheel a little beyond 90 to get through that corner right there, where in the Porsches, I believe we were seeing a little under 90 degrees to get in there. And again, coming around here, getting a little bit too wide. He's got to be careful with this as he puts the power down. Beautifully done. Third gear onto the oval, fourth gear, that huge banking. If you ever have the opportunity to come to the track when nobody's driving it, obviously, and try to walk up that banking, I don't think you can do it. It's tough to actually stand there, and it looks pretty interesting. Always get a photograph of it, though. Coming in here into the brakes, nicely done. Good angle of attack as he comes in there, not too wide, puts the power down. I think he could have gotten on throttle just a little bit sooner there, but I'm used to these mid-engine and rear-engine cars. This front engine is a little bit of voodoo for me, so I'm not quite as comfortable with those.
But there you see the number 81 of Seth Thomas still running in third spot at the moment, 8.2 seconds behind Jamil Gummer, who's gone in and once again set a new fastest lap of 44.697 as Seth Thomas makes his way in towards turns 1 and 2. The floodlights are on here at the circuit at the World Centre of Speed at Daytona Road Course. Alan Carter, headlights ablaze on the Acura NSX GT3, runs very wide to the wall on the approach into turns 1 and 2, and very tightly on the apex through turn 1. Got to be very careful of the curb on the right-hand side coming out of turn 2. And again, another vehicle, mid-engined, rear-wheel drive, a wonderful, wonderfully aerodynamically efficient car, and it also looks pretty cool as well with those sort of angular, sort of like manga-esque sort of headlights it's got on it.
The Acura is a pretty cool car, I can tell you for sure. And when you see one of these at the racetrack in real life, it makes your heart start to go a little bit faster. I mean, I love the Porsches, I love the Ferraris, I love the McLaren, but this car, for some reason, the NSX has been a car that's been around like the Porsche for a very, very long time. And it really has a lot of history there. I love seeing those old videos of like Ayrton Senna at Suzuka in the street version of this car with a camera on his feet. And I remember the first time watching that, not caring one whit what was out the front windshield. I wanted to watch his feet the whole time. The man was dancing on those pedals, just as we're going to see here. Bringing this Acura into the corner, probably a little bit of left foot braking, get back on a little bit late, just a tiny bit late. But look how he is closing up here. This is a really nice drive.
Yeah, another fastest lap by Jamil Gummer, 44.602. So he is closing that gap to David Madden. And of course, David started on the outside of the front row. Gummer started on pole position. Gummer looking for another addition to the notches on the tomahawk, so to speak. And we're going to have a GSRC replay. Seth Thomas And this is going to be the horseshoe. Oh, well, if you're Vaughan Gittin Jr., I think he might be quite impressed with that. But that is going to over-rotate, spin it around, smoke from the rear end, and Seth Thomas is now not... Well, that probably is why Alan Carter is within striking distance of him in the number one, the black with the HRC emblazoned on the sides of the Acura NSX. So Seth Thomas's misfortune... Well, he was about 8 seconds behind Jamil Gummer. That spin has just cost him 11 seconds. So yeah, Seth Thomas might get an opportunity to close up in the next 41 minutes and 40 seconds, but he's got to be very, very careful he does not make that mistake again through turn 3.
Seth Thomas right now about 25, almost 26 seconds off the lead. He's got a lot of work to do. Any spins like that that happen again are really going to put a damper in that. It'll make it difficult for him to hold on to this podium position. But if he does what I was talking about before, if he's patient, if he hits his marks, just watches, just like that, that is beautiful. That is a wonderful attack on that particular section of the Le Mans chicane all the way through there. Nicely done. Got the power down. The power beautifully applied. Didn't just smack the throttle. It just comes on and launches him back down the straight. Looks like he's got a pretty good run here, at least to finish this one out. He had the issue earlier on. But still looks like about 26, almost 27 seconds off the lead. I wonder if he got a little bit of damage to the car when he had his little agricultural event there.
Yeah, well, possibly with the new debris model that we have here on iRacing. Obviously, that will have dirtied up the tyres. Grass, dirt will have been stuck on those racing slicks. So that will then reduce the temperature on the surface area and thereby cause a little bit of mechanical grip instability for the number 81 Mustang. Alan Carter now in the pits for what will be a second trip. Now, the fastest pit stop so far done by the man in the main part of your screen, 16.3 seconds, 18.35 for Alan Carter, and a shorter run out of pit lane to enable him to now rejoin about 6+ seconds behind Todd Westfelling, who was in the pits for his last stop for about 24 seconds. And Todd Westfelling at the moment running low 148.1s. Philip Crane was running low 46.8s. Jason Owens' last lap was a 50.4. Seth Thomas running in the mid 46s. Madden and Gummer running within about a tenth and a bit of each other, low 45s, and David Madden's lead is around about 4.3 seconds. His last lap was a 45.009. Very shortly we'll find out 44.685 by Jamil Gummer. Gap now down to 4.3, and Gummer is hunting his fellow compatriot in the number 8 car. So it's two of Weissach's finest, the 991 variation of the GT3. Of course, the 991.2 is the current generation being used by the manufacturer based out of Stuttgart, and also for the motorsport side of things for Weissach 992. Thank you very much, Michael, for correcting me there. But yeah, I think in some respects, one of the things I love about Porsche is it's never a revolution when it comes to a new number designation. When you've had like the 964s, the 997s, the 991s, the 992s, there is something that just makes a 911 be a 911. It's not reinventing the wheel. It's just enhancing what has already come before it in the journey.
I love seeing those pictures of the evolution of the 911 when you start with that old one. It shows a picture from behind, and I swear you could put that original 911 inside the current 911 because the car has expanded and grown and gotten bigger wheels and bigger motors as time has gone on. But there's still a lot of fun to be had in those old cars. I recently sold a 78 911 that I loved. I absolutely loved it, and it hurt to let it go. But I can tell you, I had as much fun driving that car at a place like COTA, where it's a struggle to get a lap under 3 minutes, as I do in a GT3 RS, still a street car. Somehow, I'm not really sure how you can consider it a street car, maybe because it has street tires, but running out in 225, 223 at Coda, so it's significantly faster. But each car is just as much fun. The way the spirit of the 911 lives in each one of these cars, all through the generations, all through the air cooled up to the 964, and then into the water cooled when you got into the 980 or 996, 997. All of them have this feel that even if you had your eyes closed and some noise canceling headphones on or something, and you just felt the way the car moved, you would know it was a 911.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the 978, was that an SC? Was it by any chance?
Yes, it was big whale tail. It was it was a fender flare. It was one of the cars that Porsche put out to the French market as a test to see if the wide body was something people would want to buy. So it was really a special car. There are only about 300 of those made. This particular one was in France. A bunch of them were in Germany, but it was in kilometers, everything, even though I had it here in the US, but it came from France. It was one of those test market cars, and it was absolutely brilliant to drive.
Right, David Madden has just had a massive moment, which means Jamil Gummer on the concluding parts of lap number 19 has now taken back the race lead with 36 minutes to go. I did see a car pointing in the wrong direction just a moment ago, and I think that was coming out of the Le Mans chicane heading into turn number 11. So Jamil Gummer now brings us on to lap 20 of this race with just over 35 minutes and 40 seconds remaining. Jamil Gummer once again has showcased that he can lead at the front here, Michael, but he also showed us at VIR race 2 where we had the inverted top 10. It doesn't matter where he ends up, at some point you will see him at the sharp end of the field and normally leading by a big gap, because it looks like that spin from David Madden has cost him 10 seconds at least.
He also got a slowdown, so it wasn't just the spin. There was a slowdown with that as well. So it's a little bit of a slap in the face of, okay, I've already screwed up the corner, and then when you get back onto the track, you've got this giant slowdown, and you have to take it. There's nothing you can do. So yeah, he's about little over 9 seconds behind Jamil Gummer. That's rough. And here we watch him coming through there on the GSRC replay. Gets a little bit too much weight up on that front left tire, and I think that's what ultimately caused it for him. And now he's going to try to roll the car around, and right there, this is the part that caused it. His recovery drive coming back on. If he'd have just gone straight back out onto the track, see those cones right there, those cones that he passed, that's what gave it to him. If he'd have gone straight back on the track, or at least gotten up before those cones, he would have been just fine, not have gotten that slowdown.
Well, just goes to show that one slight mistake, as we've just witnessed, courtesy of David Madden, he has now got to put the pedal to the metal and go for it. But that gap between him and Jamil Gummer, well, let's put it in terms of lap time perspective. On his previous lap, he lost the best part of 13.5 seconds, which put him, and more to the point, well, Jamil Gummer's new fastest lap of the race, he's actually getting into the high 44.5s, so 44.593. And I've just seen on the last lap that they have matched lap time. Picture in picture, here's a replay. That is Cameron Campbell again in number 12, this time going, well, literally missing his braking marker by a country mile. I think he was trying to get to the local airport in Miami faster than trying to outbrake him. Well, he didn't even, I don't think he just completely messed up his braking and just went straight on at turn 1. But Madden now starting to push a little bit in terms of the gap coming down. It's a bit of a pendulum swing. It's switching anywhere between 9 to 9.4 seconds. But there you see the last lap for David Madden in the number 8. Seth Thomas is starting to close that gap. It's now 17.8 seconds. So obviously when David Madden lost all that time, it gave Seth Thomas a little bit of an opportunity to close that gap, but it was just through the misfortune of David Madden. And we both know here, Michael, that at Daytona, that one big mistake like we saw with David Madden can really, really be a bit of a swift kick to the ribs, can't it?
Oh, indeed. Mistakes really will get you here. And that's what I was saying at the beginning of this event, beginning of the broadcast, is you've got to settle in. You cannot overdrive this track. It punishes you just viciously. Every little mistake, it'll cost you, you might gain a tenth somewhere, but you push a little bit too hard and you get a slowdown. And now that tenth that you thought you made up is suddenly 7/10, 8/10 down. So you really have to mind your P's and Q's, get into a rhythm, and just drive the track like it wants to be driven. Then you'll be fine.
So we are coming down towards the 30-minute mark on the timer here for round 3 of the Driving Club at Road Atlanta iRacing Winter Series, live and in full colour and vision on the Global SimRacing Channel. You're joining myself, Alex Goldschmidt, and Michael Johnson, your announcing team here for today's festivities. Of course, there's still another 3 races to go. And more to the point, we're going to have another enduro, and we're going to have another 2 sets of sprint race formats. Oh, Seth Thomas getting a wiggle there coming out of turn 3 at the Rodriguez horseshoe. He kept that all together, and still he hasn't really lost much time. If that car had over-rotated like it did earlier on, Michael, that would have been an insult to injury for him.
Indeed it would, but I think he's got really the good handle on it now. That much of a wiggle doesn't bother me so much, but that's about the maximum I want to see. Any more than that, you're going to have some sort of incident. But right now we're looking at, is this is Adam Faust getting passed by who was
Jason
that?
Owens in the number 4 Acura.
Yeah, number 4 Acura, trying to get around there. That's interesting, because I believe that's going to be a lap down, is it not?
Yeah, he's effectively nearly 2 laps down in comparison with Jamil Gummer, who is not that far behind him. Jamil Gummer's just started lap 23, and Adam Faust is about halfway through his 21st lap on the circuit. But yeah, Jason Owens now finds himself 23.2 seconds behind Seth Thomas. Now, David Madden is in pit road again for what will be his second and more than likely pit stop. But the other thing that we have to factor in here, Michael, is that if they don't put enough fuel in and they're on the reserve, could we potentially see a splash and dash situation here at Daytona? It could very much
splash
happen.
and dash, yeah, is exactly what's going to happen here, because I'm not sure we have enough time. If you look at how long they ran on that first stint, I think they were only about 25 minutes into it or so, even less. I meant to write down the time, but I missed it. So this is going to be tight. He's going to have to do a lot of fuel saving, or make that splash and dash at the end of the race to hopefully recover a little bit out of it. Thinking it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 22 minutes. So I think we're looking at either pushing the car or another pit stop for sure.
Yeah, so it's around about between 20 and 22 minutes. I mean, Jamil Gummer did 12 laps. Jason Owens now up into 3rd place, 4.4 seconds behind David Madden. There is Seth Thomas finding himself behind Alan Carter, who actually had his 2nd pit stop. He's done 2 trips into pit lane, let's not forget. And his last one was on lap number 16. So I think Alan Carter, if he's going to do a 3-stopper on this, he could have possibly the quickest pit stop of everybody, and that is not just including being in your box in pit road, but it's also the time it takes, because Alan Carter actually has the shortest run out of pit road to get back out onto the exit of pit lane going into turn number 2. And that could be quite crucial for the number 1 car that is currently running P5. Thomas is closing in, and that gap is now down to 0.8 of a second. They're on the backstretch heading into the Le Mans chicane, and that naturally aspirated V8 Mustang is starting to really giddy up, as Joey Hand would say. I've known Joey since his DTM days and cheered him on when he went over to the 4GT program with Multimatic Motorsports and, of course, the legendary Chip Ganassi Racing, where they came back after 5 decades and beat Ferrari at Le Mans 24 Hours that year, but you can see headlights ablaze on the Mustang as it chases down the Acura. Battle for P5 and 6 between Carter and Thomas, and they're split by about 0.6 of a second.
And it looks like he may have some connection issues, which could be pretty exciting trying to come around this HRC car. Going into turn 1 through the switchback, coming up into the horseshoe. Is he going to take that look down in the inside? He's going to think better of it, tuck in behind, and then try to put that power down again. Here we go. Yep, flashing in and out. This is going to be bad news. So connection issues in iRacing are the equivalent of a cut tire or a broken suspension piece or something like that. You don't have a lot of control over it. Sometimes your ISP just decides you don't need internet anymore as they go side by side, coming out of the horseshoe back into the turn 6 to put the power down to get back out there. I think that's probably where he wanted to be. So when they come out of the Le Mans chicane, he's able to get that slingshot coming around. But he's trying to make a little bit of a look. Now, this is something I do when I'm coming along here, is you put a little bit of fear into them, get out of their sight. But with a car like the Mustang, they can hear it. Then you back out, you brake a little bit early, and you just slingshot when you come out of here. Let's see if he tries to do that. Yep, tucks right in behind. Can he get the car around? No, goes a little bit wide. The HRC Acura is able to put the power down a little bit better and get out of the Le Mans chicane a whole lot better, opening up that gap once again. Now we're looking at almost a second between these cars when there was actual overlap as they were coming up into the brake zone for the bus stop.
And that cost Seth Thomas 0.8 of a second by my approximate mathematical calculations. It's a bit difficult when it's 10 to 2 in the morning here in the United Kingdom, where I'm commentating from. And more to the point, you can see now that Carter and Owens are very, very close indeed. And this is the battle for the final step on the rostrum at the moment, with 25.5 minutes left to go through the Rodriguez International Horseshoe at turn number 3. Jamil Gummer comes into pit lane, and this is on lap 25. So 12 laps on the first stint, 13 laps on the second stint. Pretty good going there for the number 9 car. And, well, will he get out in front of David Madden? And could that mean we have a possible opportunity of a nice little grandstand finish? And Jamil Gummer has been at the sharp end of grandstand finishes, most notably when we broadcasted round 2, the double header at VIR just 7 days ago. But Alan Carter pushing that Acura NSX in excess of 150 plus miles an hour. And Jamil Gummer now making his way out of pit road, 18.5 seconds. Here comes David Madden on the run down in towards turn number 1. I think Gummer's got this job done through the tri-oval across the line. David Madden still holds on to second, but now Jamil Gummer with 18.5 seconds. If he's put new tyres on that car, it's going to be slipperier than an ice rink, as now the track and air temperature are pretty much nigh on level. Jamil Gummer comes out of pit lane approximately 10.5 seconds ahead of David Madden. There's Todd Westphaling in between them as Carter being chased down by Thomas. This is for P3. Thomas to the high side, through the tri-oval, across the stripe, in the run, into T1. Will he get the side draft on the Acura into the first corner? Carter's going to have the inside line, but can there be the switch back here from Thomas? Carter runs deep. Thomas gets through, but has a wiggle trying to apply the power, and Carter keeps it pinned round the outside, but they're going to be nearly fender to fender on the approach into turn number 3. A great bit of strategic savoir-faire there from Seth Thomas to try and get the over-under on Alan Carter, but he just stumbled coming out of turn 1.
Brilliant defense there from Alan Carter, placing the car perfectly. He got a little bit too deep into turn 1, realized his mistake, got the car rotated around. Meanwhile, it looked like Thomas was trying to get the power down too quick. Like you said, got wiggly and just could not hold on to it. Allowed that Acura to get back around in front. And then as they went into the braking zone for that horseshoe, man, he just held that position perfectly, making him choose that outside line and was able to come around through the horseshoe a whole lot better. He knows that Acura has the advantage in the rotation part of the show. But right here in this long straightaway, especially in the draft, that pony car has got the legs as he looks down the inside this time, coming up into the braking zone. Is he going to hold on to it? Too wide. Oh, I think we're going to get a slowdown from somebody there because that looked a little bit naughty on the on that first inside curbing. But nope, I don't think so. Looks like they got through that one just fine. But man, that was quite the dive up in there.
Carter just literally scything across the front bumper of Seth Thomas, kept two wheels within track limits, so it was a legal move. He just literally decided to brake a little bit later, but again, that naturally aspirated V8 engine on that Mustang, again, just proving that it's got the legs on the Acura in terms of straight line speed, but when it goes through the corners, as Michael rightly said, the Acura with that nice powertrain layout, mid-engined, rear-wheel drive, but through into the Rodriguez International Horseshoe, dives up the inside, Seth Thomas, the 81 alongside the number 1, but into the kink. Carter runs wide, coming out of turn 3, and Thomas very much is right on the tail of the number 1. Great battle here with 21 minutes and 40 to go. But again, a dive through on the inside here at turn 5. Is Thomas going to make it stick? He's a car length in front. Carter's still going to put it to the outside. He's going to run the car wide, try and get the inside line. But that Mustang trying to outdrag the Acura. V6 turbo versus naturally aspirated V8, and still Carter hangs on. That is great work by the number 1, but the Mustang of Thomas is not going to give up without a fight as we go onto the banking on turn 7.
I was certain that was done and dusted right there, but wow, again, great driving we're seeing there out of the Acura, placing the car perfectly, able to get through that, but looks like, oh, into braking, takes that inside line. That's what the Mustang tried to do last time, could not get it. Alan Carter getting the better of Seth Thomas with Seth Thomas's own trick. He was able to make it work, and now he's opened up quite a nice gap here. This is big. This is about a second and a half. I didn't see a slowdown. I think it was just trying to get that pony car woed up just right so he could come out of the chicane there and not have too much grass up underneath the car.
I think also one of the things about the Mustang, because it's front engine, when you hit the brakes hard, the nose dips significantly, and that can sometimes induce a little bit of unwanted understeer. And I think he probably just knew it and just thought, you know what, I need to back out of this. There's somewhere else where I can get this accurate, and he's got to really try and do it. I think possibly coming out of the Le Mans chicane, going into the tri-oval. There's Philip Crane in 6th position, putting another lap down on Adam Faust, who's now completed 26 laps. Jamil Gummer is 70% of the way through lap number 28 as we are under 20 minutes to go. We ride on board with Philip Crane in the number 3, affectionately known as Flip according to his iRacing ID. So he makes his way into turn 3 at the Rodriguez International Horseshoe. Currently sitting in 6th place, just around about 4 seconds behind Jason Owens. Biggest gainer at the moment is Philip Crane in the number 3 car, up 3 spots from the inside of row number 5 in the 9th position on the start when we went green just over 50 minutes ago after a 15-minute qualifying session. And again, just wonderful to see this Ferrari 296 GT3 in action here at Daytona. And one of the things, you can hear the engine and the different noises that we have in terms of the engines that we hear in GT3 racing, Michael. You know, you've got this sort of like high sort of like high intensity, high whine from these turbocharged V6s, and then you go to the Mustang, effectively, where you just hear this massive rumble of noise. I mean, I still remember when we had the Mercedes SLS GT3, the precursor to the current AMG GT3. Alan Carter now pits in the number 1 car. So that now puts Seth Thomas back into P3, 23 seconds behind David Madden. But, you know, you've got this wonderful smorgasbord of noise. You've got the flat 6 Boxer naturally aspirated on the Porsche. You've got the V8 naturally aspirated in the pony car. You've got the screaming V6 turbos of the Acura and the Ferraris. It's just a wonderful noise to hear, especially when we want to have a little bit of ASMR from our perspective here in the commentary position.
Yeah, I remember one time on the Autobahn in Germany driving along, and I was in a little VW Bug. doing as fast as it could, which is about 120, 130 kilometers an hour. And that was all it had. I was brave to get over into the left lane and go to pass someone, and then heard this really high-pitched whine as we watched somebody go around. That's going to be the number 12 of Campbell. Spins it back around, get back on the track and going into the right direction. But I hopped out of the left lane, heard this really high-pitched whine, and then my heart rate goes up. I start to panic because I'm trying to get around this car, and I just barely get around and pull in front of this car with, I swear we traded a little paint, but this Ferrari, that high-pitched whine that you were talking about, this Ferrari came flying by. I barely had time to see the headlights, much less recognize what it was. And then as it went flying by, I was like, oh, prancing horse, that's a Ferrari. There it goes, and it's gone.
Yeah. I mean, the funny thing was, one of my friends who lives in Western Germany, he has a Porsche Panamera e-hybrid, and he said, well, the thing was, I was doing some work over at a German national karting championship, and he said, well, look, don't worry about hiring a car. I'll give you a car to drive around in. We had the opening round of the season in Wackersdorf in Bavaria, and he said, yeah, take that for the weekend. We'll drop you back at the hotel before you fly off on Monday. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. The conditions then were really, really bad. But then we went to, I think it was Mulsen, which is the former East Germany. So you're in Saxony. And I was being taken to Leipzig, which is one of the nearest airports. And my friend's son's trainer was in the car with me. I said, look, I haven't driven a lick over here this weekend. Do you mind if I drive us to Leipzig? He said, yeah, sure. So we get to this unrestricted Autobahn, and I'm punching it hard. I've put the, like the newer Porsches nowadays in the road cars, you get the 20 seconds of the Sport Boost button. So I had it in Sport Plus, manual gear shift, in the PDK, just literally floored it, and then all of a sudden in my rearview mirror I see a brand spanking new Audi RS6 GT with the old, you remember the old the GTO that Audi used to race in IMSA with Stritzelstück back in the day, where it was the Quattro four-cylinder turbocharged car with that white, black and grey livery. Well, it was one of the first RS6 GTs, and it was pulling about 180 miles an hour behind me, and I'm doing like 160 at full chat. And I've gone, okay, there's no one in the middle lane for at least a good 1 mile. I'll pull into the middle lane, but I was just having fun. So, folks, if you ever get the chance to go to the Autobahn and you're in a high-performance car, you can legally, when it says you can punch it. But you've got to be careful. You've got to be careful.
Fewer and fewer areas. The areas keep getting restricted, but there are some out in the wild, out in between the cities, where you can open it up and see what it'll do. It's always interesting to see what's out there, to be driving along. I think some people just go out to watch, much like they come to watch a race. As we watch, oh, here comes the Rexy coming up on that Ferrari, just trying to sneak up, take a bite out of it, and see if we can get back around him.
Yeah, so that's Adam Faust in the number 5. One of some of the drivers have changed car. Where Jamil Gummer was running in the Acura last time out at VIR, switched to the Porsche, which has definitely helped him. He's got a nigh on 25-second lead over David Madden, and that's exactly where they started. And the top 3 are exactly where they started over 56 minutes ago. 14 minutes to go here at Daytona Road Course for round 3. And what a wonderful race it's been. I think the biggest, the greatest battle that we've seen has been the battle between Seth Thomas in the 81 Mustang and Alan Carter in the number 1 Acura. Some great dueling between the two, and very, very clean racing. And that's what we want to see. You know, some of these leagues that we broadcast here on GSRC, folks, might not have the biggest number of grids, but sometimes quality is better than quantity. So Jason Owens keeping a hold of that 4th position in the leading Acura, but Philip is closing in on him. And more to the point, this could be an interesting battle here. But more to the point, if they start battling away here, Michael, with 13 minutes to go, this could give an opportunity of Alan Carter, who's about eight seconds back to really have an opportunity. But here we go. Philip closing in on Jason Owens in the run into turn 1, and the Ferrari tries to hook it around the outside. Can he try and get the over-under? The answer is a resounding no on that one. And more to the point, well, the Acura holds on for now. They've got Rexy in the number 5 of Adam Faust just behind them. Adam currently running on his 31st lap. Leader about to complete lap 32 of this race with just over 12 minutes remaining. So Jamil Gummer now once more does another quick lap again, consistently in the mid to high 1 minute 44s. And Jason Owens once again holding on ahead of Philip in the number 3. So once again another battle. This time it's Acura versus the Cavallino Rampante. Yeah, it's the Cavallino Rampante of that Ferrari. Maranello's finest in the form of Philip Crane rounding out P5. Gap between them at the moment, Michael, is about 0.4 of a second, but that Ferrari is going to get the overspeed very shortly as that gap's coming down.
Yeah, this is the spot right here where you start to see, once you hit about 150, 140, 150 miles per hour is where that really starts to come into play. And right here, look at that, holding on beautifully. I think he's going to get him by start finish. This is so close. They are under 0.3 of a second. That's the spot you need to be if you want to get around the car in front of you when you make that dash for the start finish line. Little bit of a nose out there, though. I don't know if he's trying to go defensive, maybe give him a little push. But if I were him, I'd be trying to get around about right now. Go low. Go low. Nope. He's going to hold on to it. It's not that he can't get around. You know what? I just realized I bet he's saving fuel.
Yes, might want to try and get it to the checkered because they both pitted on lap 23. So I think they did 12 laps on their first stint, 11 laps on their second. Jamil Gummer, 12 laps on his first stint, 13 laps on stint number 2. So Jamil Gummer, I would say, has got more than enough gas in the tank to get that Porsche across the line. David Madden might be coming in for a splash and dash because he's just completed 10 laps. You can see the grass being kicked up by Jason Owens through the new debris module we've got here on the iRacing service. Through here at turn number 3, and they accelerate out of the corner, up the gears, in towards what is going to be turn 6. So down the gearbox once again, second gear, 60 miles an hour. Now you can hear the noise of the engine increase. David Madden comes in on lap 33. So that means Jamil Gummer might have an opportunity to stretch that fuel window out a little bit longer, but Philip trying to go around the outside of Jason into the back stretch here on lap number 33, and there's a flash of the headlights by Jason Owens. Philip's going to cut across. Is he going to go around the outside? He is. Jason Owens did not fight that and effectively went, you know what, I'm not going to chance a potential incident here, and I want to become the hunter rather than hunted. He's going to the high side, is Jason, right now, as Philip tucks it in to the yellow and black line at the bottom part of the 31-degree banking here at Daytona. And this is going to be very, very close. Back again into the slipstream, slots in Jason Owens as they head into the tri-oval. And Adam Faust has decided, well, I might not be on the same lap as you guys, but maybe I want to have a little bit of piece of this action as well as they fire it into T1.
Yeah, it looks like Rexy's looking for a little bit of Acura Ferrari lunch, but he's going to need to put that hammer down if he wants to get through here and get around these guys. He has a good opportunity, though. I think if he plays his cards right, he could get a nice little slingshot, but I don't think that's going to get him back around and to completely undo the lap that he's down. Now, best thing for that, probably a little bit of coaching. Know anybody who might be able to do that? No,
I wonder.
Yeah,
I wonder.
I wonder. There's probably someone on GSRC who could help with that. Shouldn't be too hard to find.
But we've got the resurgent battle between Seth Thomas and Alan Carter once again. Now, the big thing here, Jamil Gummer pitted on lap 25. I think he's got enough to take it to the flag. Possibly. He might just put it a little bit on cruise control. Carter nearly ends up in the rear diffuser of Seth Thomas coming out of turn 6. Todd Westphalen keeps out of the way, does not want any part of this altercation that's happening between these two. Now, the big thing here is that Philip and Jason pitted on lap 23. So I would think maybe in the next lap or two that they will be in pit lane. So Seth Thomas pitted on lap 33. He has got enough to run to the flag. So has David Madden. The big thing is Jamil Gummer has got a big advantage, nigh on a minute, with just over 7.5 minutes to go here at round 3 of the driving club at Road Atlanta iRacing Winter Series. But the heat between Mustang and Acura is still not abating. It's like saying the floor is lava at the moment between these two, and neither of them want to give the other one an opportunity to get through. But Thomas, oh, he got a little bit of a slight touch there from behind, and that is Philip. Philip's gone around. Oh, Philip has just dropped it through out of turn number 1, and the Ferrari was backwards the other way. So dramas there. I'm wondering if he was pushing too hard behind Jason Owens to try and get back at him. But with 7 minutes to go, this means we're going to have a replay, picture-in-picture, top left, top right of your screens, into turn 1. Philip's going to turn it in too early on the throttle. Bang, the Ferrari goes around, and Jason Owens and Adam Faust narrowly avoid it.
That's all on his own. That was lack of patience. Again, it comes down to, what did I say at the beginning of the broadcast? Patience. You got to have patience. Oh! And we're seeing, oh no! He had such a great opportunity there. Every time he's catching him under braking and just not being patient enough. That's got to be heartbreaking, because that was a really close race. He was under 0.2 for the majority of the lap, and then just spoils it as he goes in and just spins it around in that corner.
Yep, so let's have a look at the replay. On board with Alan Carter behind Seth Thomas, turns it in. Oh, he touched the rear bumper. And
Thomas was a little slow on that too, I think. I think Thomas got a little bit sideways through there. Wasn't quite working right for him. Oh, and goes around again. Oh, Alan Carter one more time. And he's going to get a slowdown. Went past those cones. Dear. Oh, that's a rough one. Wow, just adding a little bit of insult to injury there.
Well, we are getting towards the end of the race. Jason Owens pits from P3. This is going to be his last pit stop. But Jamil Gummer, if he does a 2-stopper here, he's running in the mid 145 ones. Philip is now coming into pit lane. After that drama there, he also was, I think, pitted at round about the same time. So Jason Owens, 8.85 on his mark. So small amount of fuel to get it to the flag and have a little bit more in reserve. There you see picture-in-picture, top right of your screens, folks, that Jason Owens now coming out of pit lane, and he will rejoin in 5th position. But Jamil Gummer, who's now put a lap down on Alan Carter, it's going to be all top 3 that started P1, P2, P3 when we went green over 65 minutes ago here at the World Centre of Speed Daytona road course. Jamil Gummer has done it again and has not put a foot wrong in the 2nd and 3rd phases of this race. The first phase for this driver from Georgia didn't really go his way. A couple of moments of tripping over his own shoelaces meant that he got a bit unstuck, but has managed to compose himself. We saw this same kind of performance at VIR, and it looks like Jamil Gummer is going to go into the midway point of the season with a significant series lead. Hopefully we'll have the standings for the iRacing Winter Series updated for you for next time out, where we go from Florida to the Lone Star State on February the 5th, 8 p.m. Eastern, 1 a.m. UTC, to Circuit of the Americas, and we go back to the doubleheader sprint format. And there is Rexy staying down below the black and yellow lines. But Jamil Gummer is not that far away from taking the checkered. Adam Faust, oh, this is going to be out of the Le Mans chicane. Oh, no, front end takes a wallop. And, well, Rexy's mouth definitely needs a bit of plastic surgery after that.
Ooh, that was close there for whoever that was coming out of the Le Mans chicane there. That was very close. So good eye, good watching, knowing where to be, and maybe a little luck in there too. But back to Jamil Gummer here. I think this is just a casual Sunday drive home at this point. There is no need to push. He's currently got a 1 minute gap to David Madden. if he's got the fuel, and now, okay, hang on. Well, this is 12 laps into this stint with 3 minutes left. I think this is going to be a splash and dash situation. I don't think anybody's really gone much more than 12 laps on any one of their stints. Have you seen anybody go longer than that?
Jamil did 13 on his second stint, so I think if he gets it in there for 5 seconds, it's going to be game over. David Madden will probably be maybe 15, 20 seconds behind. When you look at it with regards to the pit stops, it's going to take them the best part of 30 to 40 seconds going into and out of pit lane. It's quite a fast entry into pit lane, but also your pit box is quite crucial to how long you've got to be on that pit lane limiter. So Jamil Gummer will have calculated that quite nicely as he's coming up to put a lap down on Todd Westphaling, who was the one that actually kept out of the way of Adam Faust, who rearranged poor old Rexy's front bumper. So
it's also a 55 mile per hour speed limit in the pit lane, which is significantly higher than a lot of places. That's 88 kilometers an hour for new money. But yep, here we go. Looks like he's going to make that splash and dash coming in onto the brakes, reaches the pit speed limiter right at the line, rolling through. Now, meanwhile, if we watch him come here, we should take a look at David Madden, see where he is. He's here in the picture coming out of, is that out of bus stop? No, that's got to be coming up to bus stop. I don't think he's that close yet. So Madden trying to see if he can bring his Porsche around. That splash and dash, out comes Gummer into what would be turn 1, I guess. This is a really tricky bit right here, though, as looks like Madden going into the chicane back there, not going to make it. So I think that's going to leave them with a good 35 to 38 seconds once everything kind of shakes down here and they get back into full speed. So looks like Gummer's got this. 1 minute to go, and Madden is doing pretty well back there, about 35 seconds back.
I think this might be the case. We could be on the final lap because Jamil Gummer came out of pit lane with about just over 60 seconds to go. And he's been running at his last lap was a 51.4. So we're waiting until the final lap has been declared. It's still showing 35 seconds on the timer. The leader will have completed nearly 139 miles of this circuit in total. So Jamil Gummer has done exactly what he's needed to do. He's played the game his way, concentrated on his own race, despite the early trials and tribulations, early doors in his opening stint out of 3. Was only on his marks for 4.73 seconds. He's coming through the Le Mans chicane, exits with 8 seconds to go. So this could be very tight on time, as he's going to make his way through to the tri-oval. It will be checkered flag out this time as the timer hits 0. Jamil Gummer continues the run of action. Final lap has been declared, so it will be the checker this time around. The clean sweep continues. The number 9 Porsche of Jamil Gummer, the 992-911 GT3, will take the checkered here at Daytona. Or is it now the final lap? So it looks like we've now gone into final lap now. So checkered hasn't been shown.
Yeah, I'm showing white flag. White flag now. That was interesting. So that can happen if you miss the timing. I've seen races stop a lap soon, and I've seen them go a lap over. And I think it messed up with the timing a little bit because he had to do that splash and dash.
So maybe it's maybe sort of gone, okay, well, he's gone in for maybe just sort of decided, well, we'll stick an additional lap. So that's going to be 40 laps in total, as Jamil Gummer about to get past Jason Owens in the number 4 coming out of the Rodriguez International Horseshoe. Owens pulls to the right-hand side of the circuit, gets out of Gummer's way. This is going to be actually coming out of turn 6 this time, so that was out of turn 5. But what a race it's been. We ride on board with the number 9. What a drive that has Jamil Gummer done again. We saw this, as I've said multiple times in the broadcast, Michael, that Jamil did the business despite dramas at race 2 for round 2 at VIR, but he's come back and he's done it again at one of the most challenging endurance circuits you can race at. You've got the Nürburgring Nordschleife, you've got Spa-Francorchamps for the CrowdStrike 24, you've got Le Mans for the 24 hours, you've got Sebring for the 12, and of course here for the Rolex 24 at Daytona.
Yep, here he comes, making that final stretch around out of the final NASCAR turn. Looks like Jamil Gummer is going to be our winner.
So when the dust settles here at Daytona, one man will be in victory lane, and it is the number 9, the Porsche 992-911 GT3 of Jamil Gummer continues the clean run of form in terms of pole positions and victories, and Jason Owens decides in some extracurricular shenanigans post-checkered flag, and it's going to be a one. Oh, now this is something I haven't seen for a very, very long time. Jamil Gummer started on pole position, finished first. David Madden making his way through the final few corners here at Daytona. He started on the outside of the front row, and he's going to take second place in this race. And also we're going to see a top 4 finish as they started, because Seth Thomas, who's 46 seconds behind David Madden, will round out a podium. So Porsche, Mustang rounds out the podium. Seth Thomas, after that great battle with Alan Carter, with Alan Carter's mistake causing him major dramas, it's going to be more the case of that coming through the Le Mans chicane. I think the biggest battle that we've seen so far, and I hope this continues into the double sprint race format we have at round 4 coming up next week in 7 days' time between Thomas and Carter, Mustang versus NSX. The 2 main battles we saw were with these 2 drivers, and it's going to be the might of Dearborn, Michigan, and also, more to the point, the Blue Oval. Out of the final corner, Seth Thomas takes the checkered into P3. Carter takes P4. Owens takes 5th, a lap down. Philip Crane takes 6th ahead of Todd Westphaling. Adam Faust. Here is Todd coming across the line. He'll finish a lap down off of the leaders, finishing in P7, having started on the outside of row number 4. Then goes straight on. But more to the point, Jamil Gummer, no superlatives in the dictionary can really justify what that driver has done tonight once again here, Michael.
Yeah, beautiful drive. I would say from start to finish, it was a little sloppy at the beginning, but he really pulled it together, got his head right, and the last 85% of the race just beautifully executed, made his way through traffic, watched where he needed to go, placed the car beautifully, and just put on an absolute course in racing, how to do it right, even down to that little splash and dash right there at the end.
So here are your results for the second of our 1 hour Enduros for round 3 of the Driving Club at Road Atlanta iRacing Winter Series. This time taking place at Daytona International Speedway road course at the World Centre of Speed. Jamil Gummer, after 40 laps, that's 142 miles of the circuit, wins by nearly 40 seconds. And it's a Porsche 1-2, courtesy of the number 8 of David Madden. Seth Thomas holds Dearborn's hopes high with the 3rd place finish in the number 81 Mustang ahead of Alan Carter, the highest placed of the Acuras in this particular adventure. Jason Owens finishes 5th in the 2nd of the Acuras and had moved up from 7th. Was running as high as P3 in the race, finishes in 5th ahead of Philip in 6th place in the leading Ferrari with Todd Westphaling, Adam Faust and Cameron T. Campbell. Those 9 drivers made it to the checkered flag, but unfortunately on lap 4 we lost the 100 of Daniel Vincent. Great battling there, and I think, as I said earlier, Michael, sometimes we don't have the biggest grids, but quality or quantity does not necessarily mean quality. And the battles we saw between Owens and Philip, we also saw Seth and Alan battling it out. We even saw David Madden and Jamil Gummer battling it out as well at times. Just hand on heart, Daytona just really does bring something different when you put drivers around this 3.56 mile circuit.
It's always a place that people really revere when they get there. Even if it's in the sim, you don't even need to be in VR. You can have a single little 23-inch monitor. When you get to this track, there is a reverie that goes along with it, and you just feel it. And for the numerologists out there, I took a quick second glance at this. Our winner here, who came in 1st place, has an I rating of 2,345. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think he was destined to win. I don't know what that means in numerology. It's just a sequence of numbers, but I think he took the reverie of the place and the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and put it all together and made sure he was out front.
Yes, indeed. Well, that really rounds out the action here on the Global SimRacing Channel for the driving club at Road Atlanta, Round 3, Daytona Road Course Enduro. Let's have a look at the upcoming schedule here on GSRC. Well, next time out, we're going to be back in action 7 days from today. 1 a.m. UTC, 8 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be heading to the Lone Star State and to Circuit of the Americas for the driving club at Road Atlanta iRacing Winter Series at COTA. It's going to be a fantastic one. We are going to have 2 sprint races on that. And a big thank you to the this is what's coming up on our shows here with GSRC. Grand Prix Legends, Saturday the 1st of February, 1:30 p.m. UTC, 8:30 p.m. well, 8:30 in the morning Eastern, Grand Prix Legends at Summit Point. Then we head back to IMSA Vintage action. Same day, different circuit, different time. Lime Rock Park, 5 p.m. UTC, 12 p.m. Eastern, and then we go back to the classic Sunday Grand Prix Lotus GP Series, the Lotus 79s, Sunday the 2nd, 4:30 p.m. UTC, 11:30 a.m. Eastern, and we go to the iconic Green Hell, such named by 3-time Formula 1 world champion Sir Jackie Stewart. It's the Nordschleife Gesamtstrecke, it's the long version. A big thank you to the team today, not just from myself, but also for Michael, Daniel, and for Dougie. Don't forget, you can check us out on social media. Our website is currently in the process of being updated. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, give us a like and put a share, so at least you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. Thank you so much very much for tuning in. As always, race clean, race hard, and if in doubt, well, you better go flat out. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time here on GSRC. Goodbye for now.